Welcome to Digital Dessert Goals. My name is Hadley, and I own Hadley Go Lucky Cakes. I am a freelance pastry chef making custom orders in the Brooklyn and New York City area. Today, I'm going to be showing you a cake that I love to make for myself. It's inspired by my time living in Kyoto and Yoshikawa City in Japan. I had the good fortune of living in Japan for 2 years and was so inspired by all of the food that I encountered there, especially the sweets. And it's really my time spent in Japan that opened my eyes to food being more than just getting you through the day. It's really an art form and should be appreciated as such. So today I'm making a 3-layer cake inspired by Ichigo Daifuku, which is a Japanese wagashi. Wagashi are traditionally these Japanese sweets enjoyed during tea ceremonies, and they're really no more than a bite or two, usually using natural flavors, mochi and bean paste, whether it's a white bean paste or the sweet red bean paste that's so popular. I love it. I really loved translating this wagashi into the American style layer cake so that there's just more flavor, more to go around, and it really turns out beautifully. So to start, this is what Ichigo Daifuku looks like. There's a full strawberry in the middle, and it's surrounded by sweet red bean paste and a very thin layer of mochi. When you're working with mochi, you can actually prepare it in the microwave. You could combine mochi or rice flour with sugar and water and mix it all together. And you usually use cornstarch when you're working with mochi so that it doesn't stick to your hands. So today I'm doing a 3-layer strawberry cake. When you make strawberry cake, some people like to use a strawberry jello packet because it already has that bright flavor and color. And strawberries have a lot of water inside of them, so they're a little bit harder to bake with. However, I ended up reducing some strawberries over the stove and simmering it down. And I think this results in a more natural strawberry flavor in the cake. We're going to get started building the cake now. I'm going to anchor my first layer with a little bit of American buttercream. And this is so that it doesn't shift around on my cake board while I'm working. I like using American buttercream because it's super sweet, lots of powdered sugar. Some people like a lighter flavor, but I think that it will pair well with this light strawberry flavored cake and the chewy texture of the mochi. Next, I'm going to use some koshi, which is sweet red bean paste ground in a very fine way. You can also buy subu, which is a little bit more coarse. There are chunks of the red bean in the mixture. You could also make it yourself, which takes a lot longer, but you could easily purchase it on Amazon or at Asian grocery stores. It can be pretty thick. Try to get a good layer. Sometimes it can stick to the crumbs on the top of the cake, but just work through that, and you can sometimes even use your finger to pat it smooth on top. All right. Once you're satisfied with that layer, I prepared this mochi ahead of time. I formed these little chewy bite-sized pieces of it. You could do bigger pieces too, but that can be a little bit challenging to encounter in the middle of your cake. So these are smaller than a dime, really. And I'm just going to sprinkle them evenly on top of the koshi. All right. Once you're satisfied with that layer, we can go ahead and go on to the next layer. Sort of pat it down so that it's visually even. And we'll repeat the same steps. I've tried making this cake with the strawberry jello mix, and I don't like it as much because the flavors are a little bit more overpowering, and it makes for a cake that's a little bit too sweet. So I really liked using the natural berries in this mix. And now for the top of the cake. I like to use the smooth side of the cake for the top, which will make it easier to frost without picking up a lot of crumbs. All right. Once you're satisfied that the cake is even, I like to make sure there's no extra bean paste hanging over the edge, which will make it really hard to frost the outside of the cake. So I just sort of brush that off and put it back in the bowl. I like to start by building a frosting layer up the sides of my cake, and then I'll frost the top of the cake after that. So you can really focus your piping bag on the strips where there's really nooks and crannies to fill in with buttercream. So where you can see the red bean, that's where you want to concentrate the icing. And it really helps to be using a cake spinner as you do this. Next, take an offset spatula or a bench scraper, and we're just going to come all the way around the cake, scraping it as close to the cake as possible. This is technically a crumb coat. If you were building up the cake, we would do multiple layers around of frosting to really get that thick frosting wall. But I'm choosing to do this cake in a naked cake style, so we'll be able to see a little bit of that caramelized golden brown of the cake coming through the frosting. So you might have to go around multiple times, and each time you can see where frosting is needed and you can pipe into those specific locations. Once you're done frosting the sides of your cake, we can focus on the top. And I like using a piping tip for this because you can really control the width of the icing. Once the entire top of your cake is covered, you can take your offset spatula and smooth it out. You can just hold the spatula in one place as you turn your turntable in one direction. And you'll notice it's coming over the edge a little bit, and that's okay. We're going to pull the edges down towards the bottom of the cake. You might have to scrape some of it off. All right, and once you smooth the top, I like to put some fresh strawberries on top. And to make it cute, I use a small cookie cutter in a flower shape. You can find these also on Amazon, and make some cute heart or floral cutouts. And I also sprinkle some of the mochi bites on top. This can be as delicate or as haphazard as you'd like it to be. It looks great both ways. I like to finish off all happy-go-lucky creations with a little bit of edible glitter, so this cake is no exception. You can find edible glitter online or at cake stores like New York Cake. Look at that shimmer. Yes. Wagashi celebrates the seasons, and strawberries are in season right now, and that's why I chose Ichigo Daifuku as my cake transformation today. Wagashi also celebrate the arts like poetry and just are a really good vessel for celebrating other traditional Japanese art forms in addition to pop culture. I've seen Hello Kitty shaped wagashi and just the possibilities are endless, but this is one of my favorites. If you make your wagashi cake, please tag OMG Dessert Goals on Instagram as well as Hadley Go Lucky on Instagram. We would love to see your creations. Thank you so much for joining Digital Dessert Goals.